Today we're going to make sweet and sour chicken, but we're also going to make sweet and sour cauliflower and sweet and sour tofu. The method we're using today is sort of a shallow fry, and we're going to do sort of a funny dredging method here. We're going to take our food and we're going to go into corn flour first, or cornstarch, and then we're going to go into beaten eggs and then go into a hot pan with oil. So it's not your typical dredging method where you would normally have flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs, or flour, eggs, flour. We're going the eggs straight into the pan, and what that's going to give us is a really golden, crispy outside, and then we're going to coat that all in a sauce that we're going to make. I'm making the chicken and the cauliflower and the tofu in 2 different pans for my vegetarian daughter, so that she doesn't get skeeved out that the chicken was cooked in the same pan and things move along a little faster. But you can certainly do it all in one pan if you wanted to, if you have a big enough pan. So let's get started. I'm going to beat up these eggs. These I have a little more than the recipe normally calls for because I have a little bit more food that I want to coat. So normally it calls for 2 eggs. I did 4 because I have a feeling I'll run out. So better a little too much than too little. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt in there. Whisk that in. I already put some pepper in there. And there's already salt and pepper in my cornstarch. So to start, I have my pan heating up over a medium heat. And I'm going to add about, you want to be generous with your oil, probably a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm going to put that in both pans. And you want to use a neutral oil here. Neutral oil means it doesn't impart a lot of flavor on its own. So unlike olive oil, which has its own flavor, we are going to use a neutral oil. I'm using actually is algae oil, but you can use canola oil or vegetable oil. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is take my chicken piece, get it nice and dredged in the cornstarch, and then I'm going to pop it in here. And I'm going to do a few, and you want to keep one hand wet and one hand dry for this so that you don't end up with like big clumps of that stuff on the ends of your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all dredged. So I have my fork ready to go into the eggs with the chicken that's coated in the cornstarch. And I'm just going to turn my heat up a little bit. I'm going to pop them right into the pan. It can get a little messy, so be prepared for that. There's going to be cornstarch all over the place probably by the time you're done. So be prepared to clean that up afterwards. And then if you move this over your stove, you won't get as much egg dripping everywhere. So we're going to repeat that with all the chicken and get all the chicken in the pan, and then I'm going to repeat all of that with the cauliflower and the tofu. Alright, we've got all our chicken on medium-high heat, cooking away in our frying pan. And then we're going to repeat the whole thing with the cauliflower and the tofu. So our chicken is starting to get golden around the edges and the egg is starting to set up. So what we're going to do is flip these over. It's okay if they all come up in a piece because you can always split them apart. And you can see how golden brown they're getting. I'm just going to flip them all over and let them get golden brown on the other side. And then we're going to, once they're cooked through, we're going to hit them with the sauce. And the cauliflower is cooking away in the other pan. Alright, so we've got our chicken is almost finished here. You can see it's all nice and golden brown. I've thrown some of the cauliflower in here with it because the other pan was getting full, and all the meat eaters in my house like cauliflower anyway, so I stuck some of it in there so I would have room for my tofu, which is over here, cooking away. So I'm going to toss all these, flip them so they get nice and golden brown on all the sides, and then I'm going to show you how to make the sauce. Alright, while our tofu and cauliflower and chicken are finishing up, we're going to make the sauce. So the first thing, you guys ever find it hard to concentrate when your sister or your daughter is TikToking next to you? I find that distracting. Anywho, this is 2/3 of a cup of sugar. We're going to put that in a bowl. I have a 1/4 cup of white vinegar. This is actually white vinegar and rice vinegar because I ran out of white vinegar. So quarantine cooking, guys. You gotta do what you gotta do. This is a 1/4 cup of ketchup. We're gonna pop in here. So you'll notice there's very sweet going in here, right, with the sugar. Very sour with the vinegar, and the ketchup is sort of a mix of the two. Definitely a little bit of salt, a little bit of acid, a little bit of sweetness. We've got a teaspoon of garlic powder goes in, and a tablespoon of soy sauce goes in. We're going to whisk this all together. Now, I like to add pineapple chunks when I have it. I don't have it right now, but when I do have it, I like to add pineapple chunks in here when I pour it over all of the chicken and stuff, and it gets all caramelly. So what I'm going to do is now, the chicken is simmering away over here. Not simmering, but, you know, sizzling. And I'm going to pour half of this over it. Now, if you feel like you need more sauce when you're doing 2 pans like this, go ahead and make another batch of sauce so everyone gets enough sauce. I will probably do that for all of mine. Alright, it's going to sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. That's good. And keep in mind, there was a lot of cornstarch in there. And cornstarch thickens things, right? So as it cooks down over low heat, it's going to get nice and thick, and it's going to get all of these, it's going to make a beautiful sort of glaze sauce for our chicken and our cauliflower. So I'm going to make another batch of sauce for the other pan, and then we'll see this at the end. So everything is all finished. We've got our chicken and our cauliflower in this pan, and we've got our cauliflower and our tofu in this pan. And to loosen up the sauce a little bit, I added just a splash of vegetable stock. It adds a little bit of flavor instead of adding water, and loosens up that sauce that's thickened, and sort of there's a lot of sugar in there that's caramelized as it's been cooking. So it just helps make a little bit of sauce for your pasta or your rice that you're putting it over. So we're going to put it over lo mein. So I'm going to dish this one up and show you what it looks like. So there it is. That is the cauliflower and the tofu and the pasta, or the lo mein. And then the chicken is in there. That's it. It's not it doesn't take too long. There's some downtime as you're waiting for everything to cook. And in that downtime, you can clean up your kitchen. So hooray. And that's it, guys. I hope you really enjoy it. It's one of my family favorite recipes. And it started off as a recipe you could do in an oven, which you certainly still could. But it's a lot faster when you do it on the stove. So hope you enjoy it. And have a great night, everybody.